2020 is a heck of a year, from a global pandemic to multitude of depressing things happening simultaneously. Video game releases getting delayed, and 2020 Tokyo Olympics getting postponed, etc., etc. The world has suffered, and Philippines was no exception. Hi folks, it's Ron, and today on Grow With Me, we're talking about major things that happened in the Philippines this 2020. Starting off with the most recent one, a series of typhoons devastated the Philippines. The first one was Typhoon Goni, or locally known as Rolly. On October 29, 9:30, Goni entered the Philippine area of responsibility and was named Rolly by the Pagasa. Goni had intensified into a Category 4 equivalent typhoon, with 1 minute sustained winds at 120 knots, and eventually the first Category 5 equivalent typhoon of the season a few hours later. As of November 11, 2020, the NDRRMC has reported 12 billion pesos of infrastructure damages, along with 5 billion pesos of agricultural damages, with a combined total of 17 billion and at least 25 deaths, 399 injured, and 6 missing. The second one was severe tropical storm at Sani, or locally known as Shawnee. On October 28, the JTWC began tracking a new tropical disturbance 95 nautical miles southwest of Truk in the Federated States of Micronesia. This disturbance will eventually strengthen into a new tropical depression in the early hours of October 29. Sani entered the Pag-asa's Philippine Area of Responsibility, with the Pag-asa naming it with the name Sean. The storm tracked northwest through the Philippine Sea, passing through the Luzon Strait on November 4. The system licked the car on November 7 at 9 p.m. At Sani, downed trees, caused landslides, and damaged streetlights in parts of Taiwan. The storm brought heavy rains to Batanes and Lababuyan Islands in the Philippines, causing 4.9 million pesos of agricultural damage. The last one was Typhoon Bangko, or also known as Ulysses locally. On November 8, the JMA began tracking a new tropical depression 132 nautical miles north-northwest of Palau. At 12 p.m. on the same day, the Pag-asa declared the system as a tropical depression inside Philippine Area of Responsibility and named it Ulysses. The next day at 7:15, the system strengthened into a tropical storm, with the JMA giving it the name Bangko, with the Joint Typhoon Warning Center later issuing their first warning on the system as a tropical depression. As the system tracked closer to southern Luzon, both the Pag-asa and the JMA upgraded Bangko into the severe tropical storm degree. Bangko was then upgraded into typhoon status by the JMA on November 11, followed by the JTWC and the Pag-asa shortly after. As Pag-asa raised signal number 3, tropical cyclone wind signals in preparation for the storm. As of 8 p.m. on November 15, 2020, the NDRRMC reported 67 deaths caused by the typhoon, along with 470 million pesos worth of infrastructural damage and 1.19 billion worth of agricultural damages. Over 107,000 individuals, including 41,000 from the National Capital Region, required rescuing as over 105 areas experienced heavy flooding. Up next, we have the 2020 Taal volcano eruption. The eruption of Taal volcano in Batanes, Philippines on January 12, 2020 was phreatomagmatic eruption from its main crater that spewed ashes across Calabarzon, Metro Manila, and some parts of Central Luzon and Ilocos region, resulting in the suspension of school classes, work schedules, and flights in the area. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology subsequently issued an alert level 4, indicating that a hazardous explosive eruption is possible within hours to days. The volcano erupted on the afternoon of January 12, 2020, 43 years after its previous eruption in 1977. According to PBOS Director Dr. Renato Solidum, seismic swarms began at 11 a.m. and were later followed by phreatic eruption from Volcano Island main crater at around 1 p.m. Loud rumbling sounds were also felt and heard from the Volcano Island. By 2:30 p.m., the PBOX raised their alert status to alert level 2. There are a total as a result of this eruption of Taal, although only one reported case was directly caused by the eruption on January 12, 2020. According to the Manila Bulletin, people either perished because they refused to follow the evacuation order or decided to return to their homes, or died in the evacuation centers of heart attack caused by anxiety. Demands for the N95 mask increased rapidly during the eruption and later the COVID-19 pandemic, with some stores inflating its price to 200 pesos apiece from the standard 25 to 40 pesos. The Department of Agriculture reported that the damage to crops caused by the eruptions are estimated to be 3.6 billion pesos, covering 2,722 hectares that includes 1,967 animals. Fisheries in the Taal Lake, consisting of about 6,000 fish cages to be captured, as a total of 15,033 metric tons of fish, suffered losses of 1.6 billion pesos. Now, moving on to the last item was the COVID-19 situation in the Philippines. The coronavirus disease, or COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by a new strain of coronavirus. This new virus and disease were unknown before the outbreak began in Wuhan, China, in December 2019. On January 30, 2020, the Philippine Department of Health reported the first case of COVID-19 in the country with a 38-year-old female Chinese national. On March 7, the first local transmission of COVID-19 was confirmed. WHO is working closely with the Department of Health in responding to the COVID-19 outbreak.
Ulitin lang po namin ang ilang malalaking balitang kapapasok lang o kani-kanina lamang po. Una, kinumpirma ng Department of Health ang pagkamatay ng unang Filipinong nagkaroon ng COVID-19. Siya po si patient 35, female, 67 years old, na confined sa Manila Doctors Hospital sa Maynila. Samantala, ila-lockdown naman po ang Senado bukas para ma-disinfect matapos silang magkaroon ng resource person na nagpositibo raw sa COVID-19. Ayon po kay Senate President Tito Soto, kabilang sa mga nakasalamuhan nito, si Senator Win Gatchalian, pati na rin daw po, ayon kay Senate President Soto, si Senator Nancy Binay at si Senator Gatchalian nagsabi pong magsi-self-quarantine na siya, pati na rin po ang kanyang staff.